Hi guys, it's Theresa here of Larkin Design, and welcome to another layout in my series called Things I Need to Hear. And so if you're just joining me, this is a series that I'm doing on Fridays of traditional mixed media layouts, and they're inspired by things that I am needing to hear that week. And I started doing this a couple of weeks ago kind of by accident, and it came about because quite frankly, because some days I miss my mom, and so I try to imagine sometimes what are the things that she might say to me, or what are the things that I might call her and expect to hear from her that week, just based on things that are going on and things that I'm going through in my life, and just general affirmations for myself. And so I'm working this week with a really quick, simple snapshot I took of myself. It was just one of those accidental kinds of things. I was just playing around, and I sort of have in mind of what I want to do with this layout. I'm working with the Hazelwood collection from American Crafts, and I know already that I want to stagger the pattern papers on the left hand side of the layout, and so I'm trimming those down. They are 3.5, 4 inches wide, I think, and just simple strips. I also cut some of the marketing strips off of the papers as well, and I like to keep those to the side in case I want to use them. And there's a cut apart sheet as well with this collection, and I know that I want to use the hello card that's included on that cut apart sheet. And so I have basic basil white cardstock that I'm using as my background for this layout, and I've already laid out, I drew some quick pencil lines where I want the pattern paper to go, and then I want to use my modeling paste and create some flowers on the white cardstock. So this is sort of my jumping off point for how I want the layout to be. I'm going to draw around the photo as well so that I have an idea of where that's going to go, because I don't really want the modeling paste to go under the paper or under the photo itself. So I'm using Jane Davenport stencils available at Michael's, and I know that I want to use the Jane Davenport bright watercolors as well to color in these floral elements that I'm adding. So I'm just working on that with my stencil and my modeling paste and a simple little plastic spatula. These are the I think they're Heidi Swap spatulas, but you can use any. You can use an old credit card or whatever to do that, whatever gets the modeling paste onto your paper. And I'm going to do a cluster here underneath the photo on the canvas. So that is the first one that I'm doing, and I'm going to clean up my stencil a little bit and then lay it down for another floral, and this one I want to sort of run off the page here. So it's just the process of stencil, modeling paste, and heat set. And then when you lay the stencil down and it happens to go over top of some modeling paste that you've already put down, you want to hold on to that and press it down close to where it's overlapping. It will smudge just a little bit underneath the stencil, and that's okay. Let that be part of the handmade charm. So I'm using these two floral elements here are the same, just one is turned differently. And then for the third one, I'm going to have that one coming out from underneath the pattern papers on that left hand side. So just cleaning up here again, and then I'll use a different floral element for the third one, but I haven't figured that out yet. I'm just going to clean up a little bit so that the modeling paste doesn't stick to the stencil. They do wash really easily with soap and water. And I'm just going to get a feel here for where I need the third element to go. Okay, so the modeling paste is all set and the floral embellishments are where I am wanting them to be. And so now I'm going to start adding the watercolors here. And this is really just going to be a matter of filling in color where I want. I'm going to use a couple of the different reds, excuse me, a couple of the different reds and pinks that are included in this set, and I'm going to mix them a little bit and add heavy water. I'm adding heavy water to these so that they will not be too overbearing on the layout. Also going to add here just a thin layer of gesso. Now, in hindsight, I probably should have gessoed before I did the modeling paste. But gesso is flexible like that. You can add it anytime you want to. I did make a small mistake in I used this foam brush to spread it. And, okay, there's a couple of things that sort of went wrong here. First off, I typically don't add water to gesso. Gesso on the right surface, if you add enough water to it, it will crack over time. This particular gesso is like a heavy body gesso, and so I used a wet brush to make it spread quicker. And I don't think it's a big deal. If it cracks on this surface, it will add some distress to the surface itself. So I don't think it'll matter. I don't think it will crack. I think it'll be fine. In the end, the foam brush, it ended up shredding over that modeling paste. So yeah, not not anything I would recommend doing. And here's where I'm gonna figure out, because the brush ended up leaving little pieces of foam on the canvas, and so I had cleaned it off, and then I put the same foam brush back down on on the cardstock, and it did it again, and that's when I realized that it was shredding that foam brush. So I went back to a bristle brush and finished gessoing that like I wanted it to. And the main reason why I wanted to add the gesso here, I didn't want to lose the texture of the cardstock, but I did want to have the maneuverability that gesso gives you when you apply watercolor on top of it. You know, it's a barrier between the paper, and paper absorbs water, and it absorbs watercolor. And so gesso provides a layer in between your paper or your cardstock and your watercolor, so that you can maneuver it and manipulate it a little bit longer, and it will move across the page a little bit better. And even though I'm going to be very specific about where I'm adding color on these flowers, I still want the maneuverability or the spreadability of the watercolor, because I want some of it to move into each other, and I want the shades to move into each other and meld together to give you that depth that watercolors will give you. Some other colors. I'm going to add some greens here to the leaves, and so I have made sure that these pinks are heat set and that they're okay to accept more color on top. So if you heat set your watercolors in between adding new colors, then the colors will build on top of each other. One of the reasons that this is important is because I colored that one leaf pink, and it should be obviously green, but it's going to be pink and then a little bit more green, and that's okay, right? Like, none of this has to be exact or perfect, and it's the very imperfect and the very unexpected that creates the visual interest here. But I am going to try and darken that green just a little bit and work with it. And then I'm also filling in the other leaves, and I'm just doing a combination of light and dark lighter areas of the leaf and darker areas of the leaf. And then they run into the flowers a little bit as well. I think that I'm going to add a little bit more heat here. And then once this is all heat set, it needs a little bit more definition, just the tiniest bit of definition. And I was sort of going by the floral elements in the patterned paper from the Hazelwood collection. Those, of course, are white flowers with a little tiny detail in the center. So I added some black dots in the center of these. Now the stencil itself laid down some dots for the stamen of the flower, and then I just colored those. This technically is not black. It's kind of a navyish color, and it adds a nice little pop of contrast. And so, of course, I added a few more splatters as well. I splattered my desk too, for good measure. And then that portion of the layout is good to go. I think I'm pretty much done with the watercolors at this point. And I'm ready, once this is heat set, I'm ready to add my pattern papers and my photo and my embellishments. I'm going to heat set the front and the back a little bit, just to make sure that the cardstock is dry through and through. I'm also going to erase some of my lines. Some of them are under the gesso, so some of them are there, and that's fine too. But where I could erase them, I did. And so for my pattern papers, I want just a little distressed edge. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this little tool. It's a distress tool from Tim Holtz and marketed by Tonic. And so I've had it forever. And there's a couple of different ways to use it. So, but it's just giving a little tiny bit of a distressed edge on each one of these papers. And then I'm going to adhere them down. And so my choices with these pattern papers, okay, one, I love the black and white here, and it's also one of the reasons why I splattered some of the darker paint on the white cardstock to carry that across the layout. I also really liked that navy leaf pattern, I guess. And then, of course, the main floral is a focal point for the layout too, and it adds some more visual interest and some additional colors as well. So I'm going to cut out this little hello frame here. I'm not worried too much about cutting it out precisely. It's going to tuck under the photo, and it's going to be tucked under the title or under the lovely word here that's in the chipboard titles. So for now, I'm going to put the lovely word just on my ruler so that I can move it around a little bit on the layout. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go, but right now I'm visualizing putting it here just underneath the photo. And so you'll notice that I'm establishing a very definitive line on the left-hand side with the photo and the title itself. And that's following the rules of thirds. So your eye will start at this edge of the photo here. I'm going to pop dot this just because the pattern papers and the modeling paste add a layer above the cardstock, and then I want the photo to be above those elements. So I'm just going to add a couple of rows of pop dots here to the back of my photo. There. And then I'm ready to adhere that down. This was sort of awkward because then I stuck the one of the pop dots is stuck to it, so it's in place, and that's okay. I got the adhesive on there anyway. I also wanted to use this little love strip. These layouts are kind of love notes to myself. I do a lot of love notes to our kids. Our Project Life albums are pretty much love notes to our kids, and these layouts get to be love notes to me. I have a couple of these little acrylic hearts that I'm going to add as well, because when you're writing yourself a love note, then you need a couple of hearts on your love note. Just another layer of dimension and visual interest there. It's also echoing that deeper color that's in the flowers. So I have my title laid down now, and then I'm just going to add a very few embellishments around the photo. I don't want a lot, but it does need a little something. So this is the ephemera pack from the Hazelwood collection. There's some really pretty elements in here. I'm drawn to the flowers that are in this pack. I do have to say that the flowers that I painted go pretty well with the patterned paper, but then the floral embellishments that were in the ephemera pack were a little bit different from that. But that's okay. They're okay. I just tucked some of them behind the photo. I think there's a bit of whimsy in this layout. There's a bit of whimsy in the polka dots, right? They're just sort of informal, casual polka dots. The painted flowers are kind of whimsical, and the title is kind of informal and fun and happy. I'm going to do just a little tiny strip of pattern paper down here at the bottom of the layout, just to ground the cardstock itself here, and add this little tab. Now, I'm probably going to go back and add my date to that little grouping at the bottom. I kind of forgot to do that in process and while photographing it. But it does need a date, so I will go back and add a little date right to the bottom. I actually did not do any stamping on this layout. I just wanted to do some painting on this one today, so that's okay too. So I added just one floral element on the left hand side of the photo and the butterfly, and then a couple of floral elements underneath the heart on the right hand side of the photo. And then at this point I'm going to add just a tiny bit of journaling, and so I'm going to just very informally draw some lines here. I'm drawing the lines just using my pen and my ruler, and I'm not worried about whether they're perfect, whether they're perfectly straight or not. I wanted to fill in a little bit of this space in between the flowers here. And so my journaling reads as follows. Oh girl, sometimes life isn't so pretty at all, but you are lovely regardless of what life throws your way. So I hope that that speaks to you today too. I'm going to wrap up my layout today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will like and comment and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you back here again soon. Thanks again, you guys. Bye-bye.